I am joined today. Behind me is Richard Ramirez, the President and CEO of USA Vets Bits, and he will be speaking as well and introducing those others that are with him. Also very proud to have standing behind me two constituents from my home district in southern West Virginia, Mr. Steve Massey, who serves in public office as a magistrate in my home county, Raleigh, and Ron Hedrick, who is with him as well. And appreciated meeting with them earlier today in my office in regard to the purpose of today's press conference. Before I begin discussing the subject at hand, I do want to make a comment about our senior senator in the state of West Virginia, Senator Robert C. Byrd. Early yesterday morning, the gates of heaven opened wide. West Virginia lost the heart of a faithful son, and I lost my mentor and close friend. It's fair to say that we will not see the likes of a Robert C. Byrd pass our way again. He came to Washington to improve the people of West Virginia, and he did that many times over. To the senator's family, we offer our prayers and our never-ending thanks for sharing their father's extraordinary life with a grateful state and nation. And I think it's appropriate that we, just for a brief moment, pay a moment of silence to his leadership, his accomplishments, his legacy, and a lifetime of dedication to serve the people he loved and the country he revered. Robert C. Byrd. Amen. For more than 200 years, brave Americans have answered the call of duty to serve our nation at home and abroad. My fellow West Virginians have been among the first to report for duty. Our nation's veterans are our true American patriots, of service, sacrifice, and uncommon acts of heroism. They make all of us very proud. Aristotle said, "Men acquire a particular quality by constantly acting a particular way. You become just by performing just actions, brave by performing brave actions." We owe an enormous debt of gratitude to and have great respect and admiration for the 23 million men and women across America today who have worn a military uniform in service to these great United States. But it is troubling and heartbreaking that our veterans, defenders of our freedom and our American way of life, who have given so much to their fellow Americans, face so many hardships in their return to civilian life. That is why today, on behalf of all of American veterans, I proudly join forces with my distinguished colleagues, Chairman Bob Filner of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and Congresswoman Corrine Brown, who's standing right behind me, and with the support of our co-sponsors, introduced the Commerce for Defenders Act of 2010 to create a veterans-owned small business preference in the surface transportation reauthorization known as SAFETEA-LU, and set the precedent for continuing this important preference in the upcoming authorization. For 34 years, I have been privileged and honored to represent the people of southern West Virginia, and it is with humble sacrifice and sincerity that I say our nation's veterans are never far from my mind. There are 170,783 veterans in my state of West Virginia, 51,500 in my congressional district alone, and that number is growing every day. In a nation such as ours, it is a stunning reality that today our brothers and sisters who have served around the globe to preserve democracy and promote freedom are struggling with life in their hometowns. Our veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan are currently faced with a 21% unemployment rate. Creating a veterans preference in the transportation sector is very simple. It seeks to give veterans an opportunity advantage in the contracting process for their service to our country, a means to attach importance and to acknowledge our fellow Americans who have put their life on the line to preserve our way of life. propensity of this bill is at the same enormous and reasonable. The number of veteran-owned businesses available to contract in the transportation construction industry would be quite small in comparison to the potential $500 billion authorization bill that is proposed by our esteemed Chairman, Jim Oberstar. But for those veterans who have returned home from deployment, who are trying to put their life and families back on track, who have been plunged into a highly competitive workplace, this preference is the very least that we can do, and it will make a difference. It will make a difference for many, many veterans. This bill will not burden states with verification processes, as the VA already has veteran-owned small business registration process in place. This bill does not interfere with the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Contracting Goals currently established in federal transportation law. In fact, it is my hope that the many women and minority veteran small business owners will benefit from this opportunity. Furthermore, this veteran's preference would not create any new eligibility requirements for the DBA program, and it would not infringe upon the importance that Congress has repeatedly placed on the DBE program. From the battlefield to the marketplace, our veterans, Americans patriots, exemplify service and commitment to duty. As individuals and as a nation, we must respectfully and gratefully fulfill our duty to support our veterans. The Commerce for Defenders Act of 2010 is, in one small part, to acknowledge the great sacrifice that so many have made for all of us. I want to thank my colleagues, Chairman Bob Filner, as I've already done in the beginning, the Chair of the House Veterans Committee, who will be recognized as soon as he gets here, and the second-ranking Democrat I've already introduced as well in my opening comments. She serves on the House Veterans Affairs Committee. She also is chair of an important subcommittee on our Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And a dear friend of mine, whom I'll now recognize, the gentlelady from Jacksonville, Florida, Representative Corrine Brown. Corrine? Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your leadership in this area. Having served on the House Transportation Committee and Veterans Affairs for the entire 18 years I've been here, I can't think of a better bill. And I would like to just repeat the words of the first President of the United States. I'm reminded of the words of the first President of the United States, George Washington, and these words are worth repeating today. The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justifiable, should be directly proportionate as to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their country. And clearly, we have major problems with our veterans. The fact is, when you pass by a homeless person, 1/3 of those homeless people are veterans. And that's because the safety net is not working. And I want to thank Nick for I'm thinking about so many things right now. But the point is, this is the right bill at the right time. We're getting ready to pass a major transportation bill, and to make sure that our veterans get what I call a slice of my grandmama's sweet potato pie. Yeah, and she made the best pie, but we want to make sure that the veterans get a slice. And so this is the perfect bill at a perfect time. It's a win-win for our veterans because they are twice as likely to be unemployed after they go out and serve the country. They're doing what they can to keep us safe, and we need to give them an opportunity to make sure that they're able to take care of their families and say that we appreciate their service, not just in the talk, but in the walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you. I'm now going to introduce a gentleman that's very familiar with this issue and has worked his heart out not only on this, but for so many of our veterans around our country. His president and CEO of the USA Vets Biz, which is a not-for-profit, non-government organization, and he'll now deliver remarks. Mr. Richard Ramirez. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Is it warm enough, everybody? The good lady from Florida took my opening sentence verbatim. She has that prerogative. Okay? The last sentence of those remarks were, "We're treated and appreciated by our nation," that's what George Washington said. This bill that's been introduced today is a demonstration of such appreciation. Congressman Rahall, for your leadership, Madam, and other members of Congress that have joined in, and there are many more to follow, I'm sure. We veterans salute you for this tremendous effort. The bill is intended to create a preference for using veteran-owned small business and federal aid-funded transportation and infrastructure projects across America. Every state and community across the land is rich with military veterans ready to work and ready to do business. It recognizes the men and women who have borne the battle defending our great country should have special consideration in doing the business of the nation when federal funds are involved. It's also a very, very powerful measure that should help relieve unemployment among veterans, because veterans in business tend to employ their fellow veterans. The military credo of leaving no one behind is alive and well. It's so much so in business and employment opportunity as it has been on the many battlefields we veterans have known. After generations of utter neglect, the interests of veterans in matters of economic opportunity have gradually taken on importance in the last decade. We all know this, and we thank Congress for that. America is a small business nation. Where would we be without the defenders of our commerce and the entrepreneurial way of life? Veterans have defended the economic cornerstones of our system as much as our very precious freedoms and our very lives. Today, many of our guardian troops of the National Guard and Reserves, serving so strong and able, left businesses behind as they marched into harm's way. And small business ownership among military veterans has become the economic path, the dream, and the modern necessity for over 15% of the veteran population. It's not widely recognized, but military veterans are in fact a fast declining segment of the population. Based on DOD and VA data, the overall population of military veterans among us is dropping fast, and barely a generation further, as Americans grows and grows, the numbers of veterans will be less by almost half we are today. Could I have some help, please? That's a war injury, gentlemen. The fewest among us have done and continue to do the most for the defense of our country and the preservation of the kindred connectivity we enjoy as Americans. This bill gives back. In our highly competitive business society, there are many deserving and warranted programs for assisting small business people from all walks of life. Veterans are those walks of life and have earned a unique status as citizens, employees, and entrepreneurs. This is the way it should be. The United States Association of Veterans in Business is very proud to be a part of this moment, and thank you for your effort and your leadership, members of Congress. As we look about the nation's capital and the many important buildings of government here in D.C., we see engraved on the walls and the buildings and the pillars many things written in Latin and Greek. Somewhere rather prominent around here, Commercium Pro Defensor Rebus should be etched. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Latin for commerce for the defenders. It's the right thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rich, for those touching words. I now have the honor of introducing another subcommittee chair on our Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, the gentlelady from Texas, Bernice Johnson, who will be as well an instrumental player in the reauthorization of our our transportation legislation. Bernice Johnson from Texas.
Thank you very much. Let me thank colleagues for being here and share with you that as a registered nurse, I spent my career in nursing with the Veterans Administration Hospital as chief psychiatric nurse in Dallas, Texas. With 15 years of experience working in this field, I have long championed issues affecting our nation's veterans and their standard of living after service. We have a duty to safeguard the rights of those who have provided ultimate service to our nation. And that's why I'm pleased to join with my colleagues here today to bring parity to preference programs for veterans-owned small businesses. Encouraging our veterans to become small business owners not only boosts our economy, but gives our servicemen and women economic opportunities to better themselves and their families. It is past time that we provide veterans with the tools that will help them compete for highway, transit, and other surface transportation funds that are contracted out through the states. And I'm proud that this legislation will promote veterans while not changing the priorities of the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program and its goals. This new preference for veterans will complement the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program while recognizing and honoring the men and women who have served our country through military service. And I frequently say to young people that being a granddaughter, daughter, wife, sister, and niece of veterans, I look forward to always helping veterans because I believe very sincerely that without this great military that we've had in this country, we would not be the country that we are. And so I owe all of our freedoms, as well as you, and all the things that we experience on a daily basis because we had a strong and dedicated military. So I thank you very much for being here, standing with the veterans, and I will be with the veterans for as long as I know. Thank you.